All right, 10 minutes before 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. When I was a kid, and many of you who are old like I am, remember, I remember Busch Gardens back when we were kids.
Yes.
I used to go to Busch Gardens with the older people when I was a kid. Now I'm the older person. And back then, Busch Gardens was free beer for the grown-ups.
Yes.
And you got to see a bird show.
Exactly.
And the bird show was a beautiful blue macaw. And the guy would always say, "This bird can bite a broomstick in half." And we would always sit and wait, and they never brought out a broomstick.
Yeah.
The bird never cut the broomstick in half with his beak. Now, of course, Busch Gardens has grown into this amazing place, and I was thinking about the animals there during Hurricane Irma, and I don't know how they take care of them. I don't know what animals do in the wild when there's a storm. There must be all kinds of answers to that question, and I have somebody on the phone who has probably some of those answers. Anyway, he's a wildlife expert. His name is Peter Gros. He's one of the last pioneers of television wildlife programs who first starred on one of my favorites. I used to watch this all the time, Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. In 1986, the founder and president of the Green Valley Center for Wildlife Education. He's a USDA licensed exhibition and animal educator. His credentials go on and on and on. He's a conservationist. I got a little tooth thing going on, so my mouth is watering more than it should. He's been on Larry King. He's a researcher and a global ambassador for preserving our natural world. Jay Leno's had him on, Merv Griffin, Johnny Carson. And he's talking to us about educating youth and families on the importance of conservation. You have so many credentials. I'm not giving you any time to talk today. Peter, good morning, Peter. How are you?
Good morning. I'm sorry they never brought that broomstick out for the bird.
I know. It was like you had to put yourself in the mind of a 10-year-old.
I know. They do have incredibly powerful beaks. If you see them in the wilds, break a nut open in half, and you think, why would I ever want one of those in my house as a pet? My God, they have such powerful beaks. But anyway, the question is, how are you all holding up down there?
Oh, we did pretty good. Not everybody. I'm not speaking for everybody. I'm just speaking for myself and Robin. We did pretty good. We had no power, but thank God we had no trees that fell on our houses, on us personally. Other people in our community did. In fact, some of the people here at the station. But yeah, little by little, we're getting back to normal. Where are you calling from? Where are you?
Oh, good. I'm calling from Seattle today, and I've been watching the progress down there, and had some interesting stories about wildlife and how they've been dealing with the hurricane.
Yeah.
And your question was a good one. The last call I had was about it may have gone viral on YouTube about the alligators that were out swimming around. They had been a preserve, and the water got so high they just swam out. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Showing up on people's doorsteps.
Yeah.
So,
well, and that was in Houston, right? That was in Houston?
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's right. Yeah.
Well, the alligators here, you know what happens here? We have so many alligators just naturally that I guess when the waters rise, they just rise with it.
They do.
There's a prairie in between Gainesville and Ocala. There's a prairie that used to be an old lake, and I guess alligators live in there. I guess it's still wet enough. And when the water rises, they come out to the interstate. They just look at the cars.
They do. They come up there and they go to high ground. Basically, what's happening now is you see more of them because there's more water, and they like to get high and dry and sort of warm up during the day. So they may show up close to your home. And what I encourage people to do is never try to move them. They're very fast, and the best thing to do is just sort of contact your local natural resources agency, and they'll keep an eye on or come and take care of it for you. But the best thing to do is give them plenty of room and let them go about their way.
Can I ask you a question? Robin gave me a photo of you. I'm assuming this is an old photo, and you're snuggling up to a fully grown tiger. If I was your father, I would say, stop doing that. That animal's going to go crazy one day. I mean, how do you know that animal's always going to be nice to you?
As a father, I would say no one should do that. This was in that mutual circumstance. It was a litter of cubs that was born, and the parent could not take care of this one, so he had to be raised on a bottle of milk, and in so doing, being fed every 4 hours by a human became imprinted on people. So unfortunately, once they're imprinted, they cannot be put back into the wild. But what did happen that was so good is he became so attached to me that he became sort of an ambassador for his species. So I could speak with him and go on shows with him and sort of create interest from the public about when you look at an animal like that in the eye and see this magnificent tiger, you want to do something to save them. So he became this wonderful ambassador, as well as a father to many, many other tiger cubs that are around the United States in wild animal parks and zoos.
I have a question for you, and this is like a popular trend, and I'm just curious what your thoughts are. I'll tell you my thought and then see if you agree or disagree or can educate me. People are putting videos on Facebook, etc., of little children at the glass separation between the baboons or the lions or the polar bears, and it looks like the kids or somebody's doing something to get the attention, so it looks like if that glass wasn't there, that kid would have been a meal. And they're putting them on Facebook, and it's like, oh my gosh, I think you're teasing these animals, and
yes.
It's not. I think it's like intentionally. Have you seen these videos?
I have not, but I know what you're talking about, and there's a real trend in the zoo world over the years. Remember, we used to go years ago, and they were behind bars and cement enclosures, and the real trend is to open up more space, eliminate the bars, and sort of kind of cage the people back and give the animals more room to roam. I think it's the idea of being able to see the animals through one-way glass unobstructed is the plan. There's also a trend, I know at our park, what we did early on was we turned the animals loose on peninsulas on island and just caged the people in these 40-person Colorado river rafts. So that worked out really well. But I haven't seen those, and I think that the real goal of zoos now is to become education centers, keep the animals as comfortable as possible, and let young people, who not everyone can afford to take a safari and see wildlife and gain an appreciation for it, and thus want to be involved in conserving it. So these zoos are really the first place that a lot of young people make their connection with wildlife and become concerned about them, and hopefully want to do something as adults to help save them.
You really do a wonderful job of educating people, and you've had this great passion. You've been doing all of this research with all of the different species of animals in the world. Do you find one species more intriguing than the other, from birds to like tigers or something?
Well, I have spent an awful lot of time around large cats, and they are intriguing. But then some of my most fond memories have been diving with dolphins and sharks, and spending time underwater with wildlife that's completely roaming free and swims up to you. There were got early on a first show that we did on a place called Dangerous Reef, appropriately nice, where the white sharks come in. The fur seals swim right up to you and see their reflection in your mask, and then press their nose against your mask as you exhale with bubbles. And the first time that happens, you use a lot of air up. So the diving shows. The diving shows have been wonderful to see herds of elephants running through Africa together, and then to be on the ice floes in Alaska, camped out on the ice, and see a polar bear as the ice floes freeze from the coast up. They wander out to feed on ring seals, to see them ambling along out there and then swimming through this icy water and doing what they do naturally. It's just it's been a wonderful career, and now the next step is for me to be able to share some of this footage and some of the bloopers and some of the things that happen while we're filming with universities and performing arts centers and corporate events, and share this knowledge, and probably most importantly, try to eliminate fear of wildlife and replace it with understanding and respect for them.
Oh my.
What an honor to have you on the show. I wish we had more time to talk. Your website is yourname.com, Peter Gros, and there's only one S in Peter's last name, so PeterGros.com. Are you making yourself available for speaking engagements?
Absolutely, I am, and there is a number their website to go to, Cost and Talent, and this is what I enjoy doing the most: affecting public attitude about conservation and pulling young people away from their video screens and their video games and reconnecting them with nature. I mean, it's just so we know it's helpful to mentally and physically to be active out in nature.
Yeah. We have a state park here. It used to be a tourist attraction, and there's a lot of monkeys there that were left over from the days when we used to put monkeys just for the sake of tourists, and now people are afraid of them, or people are intrigued by them. You may have seen one of the stories, or more.
Silver Springs.
Silver Springs, maybe a couple months ago or so.
Yeah.
Peter, thank you for being on the air with us today. That was fun.
Oh, it's a pleasure to talk with you as well.
Thank you. This is WOCA Ocala.
Fox News Radio, I'm Lillian Wu. Democratic leaders insist they already have an agreement, but the president says he's fairly close to a deal with congressional leaders on young immigrants.
We're going to get massive border security as part of that, and I think something can happen.
The president speaking as he headed to Florida to survey hurricane damage firsthand. Meanwhile, pushback from conservatives on DACA.
And culture tweeting that who doesn't want the president impeached at this point? Even Chuck Grassley, the senator from the great state of Iowa, suggested that a deal on DACA would undercut what the Judiciary Committee was hoping to do on a bipartisan effort.
Fox's Kevin Cork. Our military says 5 Marines